Yo, what are you saying, Crody? What's good?
What's up,
You
brother?
all right?
I'm another day on the...
Yeah, nice to see you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. Of
I
course.
see you,
A lot of people like the stories that we were talking about,
Yeah?
scamming and stuff. There's obviously more for us to talk about. Right? But welcome to the AA podcast. It took a while to even come up with AA because I tried to be, I'm not going to say slick, but I tried to come up with like a unique type of name, and I was wasting too much time. I'd rather just keep it simple, and then I'll worry about down the road if a unique name fits, right? But officially the AA pod, right?
Yeah, you know what name I liked, so
Abu Hub Hub in the club.
Yeah, maybe be our merchandise line one day.
Abu Hub Hub in the club. I like that. I like that. But listen, you're the Afghan Ace from Jane and Wilson, eh?
The one and only.
Listen, I grew up with a lot of Afghans. They're not at Jane and Wilson. So what happened?
I feel like
how did your parents end up there? Why did they choose Jane and Wilson? And we'll talk about Jane and Wilson as a street corner later on. But is there any inception?
I honest to God, other than my family, I think the Afghan population in Jane and Wilson is very, very small. It's not a lot of people. If you go say to the East End, there's a lot of Afghans. Go to Don Mills and Eglinton.
Right.
There's a building full of Afghans.
Right.
My area, not so much. How we ended up there, honestly, when we first came to Canada, my dad got a job, blah, blah, and my dad's very good with his hands. So the building we were staying at, they're like, hey, we'll decrease your rent if you can do some odd jobs around the building.
Oh, really?
So that's how we kind of got this place, right? And then the cool thing about that was my dad's like, cool. And the guy where he was working also owned the building. So they would go to work together. Then my dad would come home, a couple hours, do some odd jobs around the building. And then that's how we just stuck at Jane and Wilson.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting story. So now that you've experienced life and everything, how do you feel about, are you one of those people that want to live amongst your fellow tribal mates, country mates?
In all honesty, I like being an individual, I don't like to be in a crowd of people where, we're all the same kind of thing. I want to have my own uniqueness to it. Being in Jane and Wilson, being the only Afghan, it's almost like, I'm not going to say it's a flex, but it's like, it's nice, to be like, go up to someone and be like, hey, this is what my culture offers. This is what my food cuisine is, It's kind of cool, being that kind of thing. And on top of that, being able to see other people's cultures, right?
Right.
Not just being influenced by your own culture.
Right.
So I got to, for example, I learned about, Somaliland, through you, I learned about Nigerian culture through, the Nigerian friends I have down there, Jamaican culture.
Right.
So I got to be a lot more cultured in that sense, instead of being just sheltered into my own just culture, but with everyone around me. So I thought that kind of played into my strengths,
Okay. Because in addition to that, I was going to say, I think it's beneficial when you're a kid to be around, just when you're a kid, to kind of be influenced by your culture. Like, let's say, no matter where you're from in the earth, right? Just so you have people looking out for you and stuff like that. But then there's a negative to it because there's a lot of snitches, right?
Man, I know your mom.
Aunties, these aunties and uncles be snitching. Bro.
I saw him go to McDonald's and get Big Macs.
Right. Yeah, just like yo, why you in my business?
Yeah, why you ratting on me?
I'm just trying to enjoy my life here. It could be they're salty that we got to grow up here, right?
For sure. A lot of it's like that, right?
Right.
And I know what you're trying to say. You're just trying to get me to move into the East End. You want me to leave the West End and come to the East End?
I mean, if you want to be with your tribal mates, they're all here. They're all in the East End, right, with their Afghan bakeries and stuff. By the way, Afghan bread is top tier.
Yeah,
top tier.
One of my favorite things in the world.
But so you mentioned that there's a very little population of Afghans in Jane and Wilson. But what is the deal with Jane and Wilson? Why is it? It's literally like a theme park there. There's so many people walking around. I'm not too sure. I don't know what the bus schedules are, but to me, anytime you see a crowd of people in one intersection, that tells me that the buses are not coming fast enough because there's pileups and stuff like that. The roads are trashed there.
100%.
Right? I understand you guys got the Walmart, the Sheridan there. I think it's just too condensed. What's the story about?
You know what?
That?
I think the biggest thing about why it's so condensed in Jane and Wilson, because you have the chalk farm buildings right there.
Chalk farm? Yeah. Oh, hell no. Okay.
Wow. But you have all those you have buildings just surrounding all of Jane and Wilson. So when you have a lot of buildings like that, what happens? And you have the Expiry buildings there. when there's a lot of buildings in one condensed area,
right,
what happens is buildings house a lot of people.
Right.
So a lot of people, some of these people don't drive. So what happens? I mean, in today's day and age, public transit is the way to go.
Right.
So it's affordable. Because look at the gas prices. Look at insurance. So it's too costly.
Right.
To maintain a car in Toronto or in Canada, you're just bare minimum. You're paying like $600 a month.
It is. I agree with you, and I feel like the thing is too. I see it from both ends because you see how the city has grown in population, and stuff like that. The people who probably planned this city out in the 1800s or 1700s probably just made this as like a town first, and then it grew a little bit. I don't think they had the foresight to see that one day there's going to be a 7+ million population.
Canada's one of Canada's like biggest cities, right?
Right, because and everybody agrees that our TTC system is like 50 years behind. Like, if we had built the subway the way the New York is, where you can go to Mississauga, you can go to Pickering, all these different boroughs or whatever, there probably would be way less cars on the road, right? If people knew they could go to the end of the city way faster than being in traffic.
My wife lives in Mississauga. If I could sit on like a subway and get there in like 30 minutes, beat that traffic race, I would have hopped on 100%. Right.
And you're seeing how much money, our tax-paying money, that's getting burned through building the LRTs and stuff like that.
And you and I both know this is not going to be like a 2-year project, 3-year project. This is like 15, 20-year project.
The LRT on Eglinton was supposed to be open by now. Actually, it was supposed to be open
a couple years ago.
Right, but they're over budgeted and they're far behind. I know how these things go. Usually people delay these things, get more bread out of it.
100%.
But if they're going to do that, like Eglinton, I get it because there's a lot of, foot traffic on Eglinton. You want to build that thing. But then I feel like a lot of other major intersections could use an LRT. Like we wasted, $4 billion on the Don Mills one?
Yeah.
The one on... it starts at Don Mills or Shepherd and goes to the Younger Shepherd. Apparently that part of the city has a lot of wealthy people.
They were complaining about that,
And then they're like, why would anybody who lives in these wealthy areas want to take public transit, right? But to me, what they should have done was they should have built the LRT from all the way, I don't know, let's say after Jane is like Weston or something?
Yeah.
So somewhere all the way out there, and it connects you all the way Scarborough to Morningside, right? Because Morningside is usually the border. Meadowvale is usually the border of Scarborough, Pickering. If they had built a light rail, say on Shepherd Avenue, for example, all the way connecting you from literally the very tip of the East End to all the way to the West End, I think there'd be a lot more people taking it that way than, with all the traffic that we deal with. But for whatever reason, we plan to...
We don't get those big bucks.
Yeah, we plan... But speaking of also transit, man, are you noticing all the violence in the TTC lately?
Yeah, dude. Like,
what's the deal with that?
Dude, you hear some crazy stories. Like a woman got set on fire, people being pushed into the tracks.
Right? Yeah.
There's one stabbing. Like, dude. Like,
the poor lady who got stabbed at Old Mill Station. I've never even been to Old Mill Station. Yeah. And random
unprovoked.
Attack, just stabbed her to death. Like, what the heck?
Like, it's so weird. Like, and it's so weird because, like, mind you, I used to work downtown Toronto. I used to take the subway every day home, back and forth. But now all of a sudden, maybe, mind you, and here's the thing. Here's maybe where things may play a role. Maybe I'm not the most approachable guy. Maybe I look a little bit more rough and tough than the next guy.
Right.
But like, it's strange, like I didn't see it. And maybe this is like 2-3 years ago. So I think, and don't quote me on this, I think COVID may have played a role in this.
Really?
Because if you think about it, right?
Think COVID is kind of tweaked people's brains a bit? Got them all edgy.
Yeah, no, definitely, because people are being
wild stuff.
No, I think so, bro. If you think about it, right? Like, when did all this stuff like start really, really taking off? When did things start like being more and more, occurring? Right? It was like during beginning of COVID.
Right. Okay, well, no, I get what you're saying about, COVID potentially doing that. I'm not too sure if there's, personally, I don't think there's any, I'm not too sure about the science behind COVID linking them to crimes. It could be just because that people are, like, they're poor, you know what I'm saying, at the same time. But then I also don't believe that, that most people commit crimes out of desperation, especially like here in Canada and Toronto.
There's
the stuff we see on the news is like, they probably like these guys have beef or something like that.
It looks personal.
It's not like, somebody was starving and they stole bread and eggs and diapers for their family. They're like jacking iPhones and jewelry. So you're like, that doesn't sound like a desperate human being.
Yeah, but you want to hear something even crazier than jacking someone for like, like worldly material things. Group of girls, 13 to 16 years old, stabbed a 52-year-old guy. I guess he was on his way to a shelter.
Is there any context? Have they released any context about that? What was that about?
I don't know. Like, first of all, what are you doing late at night outside like that?
Right. I'm anytime. Okay, this might sound a little weird. Anytime I see a woman, like I see women committing crime, it like just throws me off.
Yeah,
right? It's like because you spend your whole life seeing crime happen, wars, people dying. They're all men, right? So just to see like a bunch of girls,
kids. Like I'm gonna say they're kids.
Yeah, stabbed a dude, and then like I'm not too sure. I didn't see anything about any reason why it happened. So like, are they like were they walking around poking people? Like what's
I don't know. Oftentimes, what happens in those kind of situations, like, and I don't know. I haven't been in that lifestyle, so I can't really speak on it. But sometimes gang initiations are happen like that, right? Like, oh, you have to go do this, and if you do this, you're part of the gang, or this and that, or sometimes drugs are involved, alcohol and drugs, impair the mind, and then you think at that split second, like, oh yeah, this is cool, like let me do this, We live in a very dangerous kind of era where people clout chase, and it ends people's lives.
Clout chasing is
I'll tell you,
it's the bane of our existence right now.
So I'll tell you a funny story.
Absolutely,
Jana Wilson.
Okay, Jana Wilson, let's go.
So there's a dollar store on Jana Wilson, so I go there, and mind you, just I needed to grab a couple things.
Right.
And guy walks up to me. He looks fairly dressed well. He's like, "Hey man, can you buy me this bag of chips?" And I'm like, "Okay, cool." In my head, the first thing that comes to my head is like, "Okay, where are the cameras out? This guy's gonna give me money because I'm gonna buy him the bag of chips." So I go, he rings up, whatever. I buy him the bag of chips. I'm like, "Okay, have a good day." And in my head, I'm waiting for this guy to be like, "Oh, hey, man, you blessed me today. Here's like, $200 or $300. And that never happened. And I was like a little annoyed. But then I realized, I'm like, whoa. Let's step back. I'm like, I did a good deed for a fellow man, a fellow person, another human being. I shouldn't look for gratification. But what social media has done has kind of brainwashed us to think like, oh, you see this happen online, this has happened in real life. It's like, oh, why didn't this happen to me?
Right.
Not knowing, hey, maybe this guy's down on his luck, you go through there.
So you really think that people now are just kind of like, because like you see all the TikToks of people doing nice things for people. Okay, I don't have a problem with people doing that, but I do have a problem with people that do it for views to gain popularity and stuff like that. Like you should never put a price on your kindness.
But see, and that comes back to that whole saying, clout chasing, right? Like people like to clout chase. Like
but at the same time, to me, it's like really nice to see like somebody doing something, for somebody else, right? Because a lot of us are just brainwashed to just kind of ignore our neighbors. You could be starving. I don't care. Work harder. You know what I mean?
No, exactly.
What I'm saying? And it's a poisonous mentality to have. But I'm kind of on the fence of filming things that where you do things for nice people, and then just being mysterious
honestly,
about it, right?
I think the biggest thing is that in today's day and age, sometimes you may need to film yourself.
Right.
You may need to film the situation. For example, say it's 11 at night.
Okay.
I see a car broken down on the side of the road.
Right.
So I'm going to be like, you know what? Let me pull up and help this person out. And I see it's a female. So what I'll do is I'll just have my phone in my pocket and I'll record.
Right.
It hasn't happened to me, but I'm just saying a situation. And I'll just record the not visual, or maybe visually just the lower half of our bodies, whatever.
Right.
Because I don't want to do this for this person or help this person out. And this person turns around and says, hey, this person touched me, or this person abused me, or this and that. Because we live in a day and age right now. If you approach someone crying and they're like bawling their eyes out and you say, hey, are you okay? Don't talk to me. Stop, blah, 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 blah,
Right.
I get that worry, So I'm like, you know what? Like,
has it gotten that bad now? Like, you think it's gotten so bad that if you try to help someone out from the opposite gender, like it's...
Oh, yeah. 100%.
It's like, there's like this ulterior motive, like, are they trying to set me up or whatever?
100%. I was trying to, we were at Costco at just by...
the Duffer and Wilson?
Duffer and Wilson location. And lady dropped her wallet or her little coin purse. I went up there. I'm like, hey, excuse me, miss. I'm not interested. Leave me alone.
Wow.
And
you're trying to do a good deed.
And I'm like looking there. I'm like, excuse me. And she's like, what do you want? And I just, you're a coin purse. Oh, thank you so much. You know, blah 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 blah.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, you know, I just wanted to return this. Everyone kind of views everything in a negative light. I mean, especially what's happening around the world. You know, like everyone's getting, you know, attacked, this and that. Even, I mean, in the city of Toronto, it's unprovoked attacks. I get why people are on edge. You know.
Do you think people's negative attitudes are because of, you know, the promotion of like not capitalism being promoted, just like that everything is about just getting as much money as possible in almost any way as possible, and I can't be bothered?
You know, that's a really good question. I mean,
I feel like it is. Like, I feel like a lot of people are a lot more on edge because they're so concerned about, you know, money and things.
Yeah, but
trying to make ends meet and stuff like that. And I wonder sometimes, is it our fault that we feel this way? Is the society that we're now living in, you know, making us feel this way? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, no, you know, if we go about that route, right, and we look at it through there, yeah, 100%. Right. Like, look at it, man. No matter how we look at life, inflation is crazy. Like, bro, you like back then you could live off, you know, like $12, you know, an hour.
Right.
Now you need at least 25 to pay your rent and maybe get a decent dinner, you know?
Right. Is there a particular person to blame? Is there an organization to blame? Is there like, you know what I'm saying? Like, people need to know why these things are happening, right? Rather than just accepting it, like, we need to know why our rent prices have gone up insane, why our grocery prices have gone up.
What I think it is, and I truly believe this, I know we've had this conversation before, is like the property in Toronto or the real estate in Toronto or in Ontario itself, you know, or in Canada, we have so much land that's not being used, you know, like, it's just like we've condensed everything in Toronto. You know, like we should branch out. You know, there's places around Canada and Ontario that we're not using for housing.
Right.
You know, the housing thing and the cost of living has gone up. Like, I remember seeing something online for this like what was it, $38 for a pound of chicken?
Yeah.
No name.
Yeah. Loblaws.
Crazy.
The guy, Galen Westing Jr., multi-billionaire. He's like the heir of another guy. So he's, you know. And during the pandemic, like, I'm not going to say groceries were kind of guilty of it. They upped the price on things. I don't know if you remember, like, bread being insanely expensive.
Bread, milk, eggs. Yeah.
So this guy, back in 2017, if I'm not mistaken, was it? Yeah, I think it was 2017. Maybe it would have been earlier. His company is guilty of conspiring with other bread companies
to raise their
rate. And what they did was that they gave everybody, I don't know if you remember this, they gave everybody at Loblaws a $25 gift card. But in order for you to get it, you had to go on their website and then sign up for it, put your name on it, and they they mailed you a gift card. It was legitimate. I remember getting like 4 or 5 of them.
Oh, nice. Right? Okay.
But he's guilty of that. And then recently a photo went viral that a pound of chicken breast was like $37.
Wow.
And these guys are trying to justify these things. Wow. And it's to me, it's criminal.
It is.
Right? Food is a necessity for us to live, and you're gonna make it super overpriced. Like, imagine the day we see water, like in let's say $15 a case. We're gonna lose our minds.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, mind you, like, our gas is expensive, our food is expensive, our rent is expensive, our phone plans are expensive.
Yeah. Compared to other nations, we're getting scammed.
Yeah,
we're getting scammed.
You know, like everything that we have to, even our car insurance is expensive. Like. Everything that we have to pay for, the things that we need. I mean, car insurance maybe you don't need because you can take the transit, but you need food, you need a place to live.
Right.
You know, that's not cheap. That alone, that's why people live paycheck to paycheck. You know, it's difficult.
Right. So yeah, like and for the life of me, I'll never understand that Canada's an underpopulated country.
I've been saying that, man.
Like for the landmass that we have. What are we, like a 33 million, 36 million maybe? It's just somewhere in the 30s.
Something like, hey, listen, we're the second largest country in the world.
And we have all this extra land. We haven't, the country hasn't built any metropolises, like more than the ones that we have right now. And I still can't figure out why everything has gone up through the roof. Like, everything has gone up. It's not like maybe 2 things that got increasing in price. everything has gone.
Oh, yeah.
Gas was hitting what? $2.50 at one point.
Yeah,
where the government had to step in, right? It was
and like, hey, like you gotta,
this is killing, families and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, everything else is killing us too.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, why can't y'all do something about that, right? I don't know. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, and it doesn't help. Like now, the banks have raised their interest rates, so it's like you can't even get a loan without being like, "Dang, how am I supposed to pay this off?" So
Right. Yeah. I know, man. It's
they're trying to make us go broke.
yeah, but like, what option do we have, right? And then now for me, it ties back all the way to the crime world. It's like how many people now are thinking about the things that we're talking about, and then they may have a family, they may have kids to support, and they're like, yo, I gotta rob this jewelry store.
Yeah, I gotta put food on the table, and who do you point the finger to at that point,
Right. But then at the same time, I do believe we all have a choice, right? Just because you were desperate, stuff like that doesn't mean you needed to take from another innocent's plate.
Yeah.
And be like, yo, I'm sorry.
Talking about like that, taking from another person's plate. There was an interview today with this Torontonian, right? And he was saying that his disability wouldn't cover his rent. So at the end of the month, they were going to kick him out.
Right.
So what he was asking for is euthanasia. Like he was asking for assisted suicide. Because he's like, I'd rather die in a bed than die on the streets. Because like, I can't take care of myself.
Right.
Like we've gone to that point where it's like, because let's be honest, like Toronto gets cold.
Right. Of course.
It gets cold at night, especially during the winters.
Of course.
Man, people die every day. And on top of that, it's not safe either.
All right.
So, what do you think? What's your thoughts on that? Like, either be homeless or go through assisted suicide. Like, we've gone that bad.
Yeah. The first thing I would ask is, where is this person's family? Like, why do we have a society where we're abandoning people, and leaving them out to the street? Because what if this guy, I don't know this guy you're talking about, but what if this guy said, yeah, I have, granddaughters and grandsons and stuff like that, and nobody checks on him, right? And I feel like that this guy may not be the only person. Like, think about people in old folks' homes, right?
Yeah, they just get dropped there just to spend the rest of their time.
It's insane to me. And I know that me and you come from countries where that stuff doesn't exist.
Oh, yeah,
we
no
actually
way.
take care of our parents until they die. But in a place like this, like I've actually been to like an old folks home, and like to hear people just say, yeah, my kids, they come see me like X amount of times and whatever. I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like has life confused us so bad that we now need to leave people behind in these type of places?
I think
to like die on their own.
No,
for
sure.
Right.
And I think you hit the nail on the head, right? It's a cultural thing, right? Like in our culture, like with us Afghans, like we're like, I can speak on on Afghans. Like we lived with each other for quite a bit of time. Like, some of us will live with our parents till like 25, 26, 27, even to 30,
Right.
A lot of other cultures are like, hey, you just turned 18, out of the house.
Right.
And it's like, wow.
Right. Do you think that many cultures that don't do that are now creeping into that?
I think that they are, because like you look at like going back to our topic about rent, right? There's kids that moved out, they're making, the scraps, and now they can't afford rent. So what are they doing? They're moving back into their parents.
Yeah.
Living in the basement, this and that, or like, living back with them. So
yeah, I mean, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, if you look at it from an investment point, right? Like, instead of like moving out at 18, finding your own place, thinking you're the man now, stay with your parents for another 10 years. And then guess what happens? You save 10 years worth of rent.
Right.
You buy a nice little property. You get it for yourself.
Right.
Spending that what, 28,000 or sorry, 2,800 every month. You save that up. Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you obviously have to be fortunate too that your parents are willing to like. What if you're a badass kid, and your folks are thrilled you left?
Oh yeah,
right. Then you come back and right. You're right. You come back and then they're like, "Yo, no, we're not letting you stay here. You evil,
shaitan,
you evil child of mine." Yeah,
no, for sure. Talking about criminals and all that stuff.
Yeah, the other thing too is that you're talking about violence on the TTC, people getting pushed. Growing up though, I never, like, I'm not gonna say things didn't happen on the TTC. It's like, yeah, you'll get the occasional argument, over seats. Somebody, maybe there's a mentally ill person, just like raising their voice a bit, or like maybe two guys that don't like each other and might, go back and forth. But the stuff we're seeing today is like, what the heck is going on? And I used to work in different parts of the city, so I'd be always taking the train, taking different buses. And yes, there are the occasional characters in the TTC, right? Every single day you'll see like a character or two come on. But the stuff we're seeing today, like, the one lady who went around stabbing people, you know what I mean? It's like, how does this happen? What the heck?
I think a couple of things that you hit it nail on the head was like, mental health. Mental health is a big thing, right? Drugs and addiction, right? It's like maybe we as a society are failing our vulnerable people, right? Maybe we don't have enough programs out there. Like if you look at it now, like there's so much drugs out in the world, like a lot more potent from like when we were kids. And plus, if you think about it, right, Abdi,
right,
is that access to technology. Like all our phones have smartphones, so we can shoot 4K.
Right.
Like now, the fact that everyone has a phone now and is recording everything that's being brought more to light. And maybe this stuff was happening from a while, right? Just now we're just kind of seeing it on social media now. Because guess what? There's people, I kid you not, that will just drive around the city just recording people getting into fights, just getting into altercations, instigating things just for views. So
like tying back to what you were saying earlier about the clout chasing. I would totally agree too. Even the city's dealing with the car theft problem too.
Oh man, yeah.
People's cars are getting jacked like crazy. Apparently Honda Civics are like the most jacked cars right now.
Yeah.
And they're ending up in like Ghana and Nigeria. There's a photo right now in one of those two countries there's an auction with Ontario plates.
Yeah, crazy.
Right? Like I'm just like, yo, what the heck?
You look at the do you remember who was it? I think it was the Maple Leafs head coach. Got his Range Rover jacked in Etobicoke.
Do you think that people being desperate, trying to find ways to get money, has made them smarter? Like, you think scammers out there are getting more creative?
I 100%. Like, there's like these weird ones where it's like like the guys who polish shoes.
Oh yeah.
They'll be walking down and they'll drop their brush on purpose, and then you go like, "Hey, sorry, you dropped your brush," and they'll be like, "Oh, thank you." He'll pick it up and they'll start brushing your foot or your boot, and they'll be, "Oh, here, say $20." Right. Or people will be like, the whole Egypt scam, like, if
scam.
Yeah. So basically what they're saying is like, like random people will come up to you if you're taking pictures of the pyramids. They'll be like, "Oh, no, sir. You have to deposit money to do that."
Oh, they have like their own tour guides and stuff like that. Yeah. A lot of countries suffer from that. They got a lot of people that pretend to, give me this much money, I'll give you a tour.
Yeah.
All right. And then after,
or they'll walk around with you and you don't even need them, but they'll be like, no, you have to pay me, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Or like, do you remember the shit on the boot scam?
I vaguely. Tell me about that.
So this place in India. Okay. So a guy's walking around with like a little bag of shit.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So when you're walking past them, he goes, squirts it on your foot. And like, I got shit. And then some other guy comes and like, "Oh, that's so bad. Whatever. Here, let me take you to this guy I know right here." So he takes you to this guy that polishes your shoe.
Right.
And charges you. So 3 guys are onto it,
Right.
So they're like, So they're very creative.
Yeah, they and let me guess, they charge you up like a crazy price to get it done, and it's one of those things like you have to get it done, otherwise you're gonna be walking around with a bad smelling sneaker all day.
No, 100%. And I think another thing is that they don't tell you how much it is. Like any place you go, you're like, "Hey, how much is this?" Or they'll have like their haircuts like posted somewhere like, "Hey, it's $65 for men," whatever, blah blah.
Right.
These guys don't tell you. So, and if they know you're a foreigner, guess what? They're going to charge you because they know that your currency is probably higher than theirs.
Right.
So they'll be like, "Oh, okay, give me 600, dirhams or something." That's a lot of money, by the way. But, like, "Oh, give me 600, rupees."
Right.
Or like 2,000 rupees. And you're like, "Oh, I guess it's whatever." Not only you just got, overcharged, $20 or $15 or whatever the conversion is.
Do you think that when you travel to different countries, do you think the merchants would respect you if you negotiated with them?
You know what? I think no, because you know why? Because I've seen like little TikToks and videos of this, like a guy going to a shop and he's like, "Oh, hey, how much is this?" In English, like, "How much is this?" And the guy's like, "Oh, $20." But another guy goes in and he speaks to, say, native tongue.
Right.
And they speak in the tongue, like, "How much is this?" And the guy's like, $2.
Right.
So it's like,
So,
oh yeah, there are the
language is the barrier then.
I think language is a barrier. I think it's also that anytime, say a shop owner or a merchant sees like a foreign person, they know they have more access to funds than say their local, up and down. Because think about it, that foreigner is probably there for maybe a week, but these locals around them, they are their life, right? So they need to have it at a cost efficient price, so that way people around them could buy it.
Right.
So, but when they see foreigners, like, hey, big ticket items, let's get them. So
right. Have you traveled internationally?
You know what? Honestly, no. I've been to all over the States, but that was pretty much it. But even then, that was like years ago, man. Like back, I can't remember the last one was like 2016.
Yeah, I've actually never left the continent.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Same. Likewise, I haven't left.
Well, I mean, as an adult, like as an adult.
Yeah, no. As a kid, I came from Afghanistan. But I was like, 2 or 3 years old.
Right. I wouldn't count that as.
I know what the next question is. Where we mean you going? Where are we taking this podcast? Are we going international, Abdi?
Maybe one day. How about a show in? Are you from Kabul? Your family from Kabul?
I am. Yeah. My dad's from there. Yeah.
Okay. So,
but
do you think they would allow folks like myself there?
I think so. Yeah. You know what? I've seen the hospitality in Afghanistan is crazy. They're really nice. I think there's certain old school mentalities and certain political views that, maybe clash with, say our ideologies. But I think Afghanistan is a very, hospitable place. Like the people welcome you into their homes, feed you, be really nice to you.
Yeah, Afghans are genuinely nice people, except the ones that are trying to fight you.
Yeah, no, that's 98% of them. I mean, and the same goes for like say people from Somaliland, right? Like I've met so many nice people from the brothers that are very hospitable brothers. Hey, come over, some tea, some food, this and that, And especially where the massage that I go to, there's a lot of Somali brothers, and they're really nice people, like lovely people. Like I've never seen that kind of hospitality given out before, other than my own culture. So I think culture and religion maybe plays a role in that, but that's a different topic for a different time.
Right.
Talking about religions.
What's up?
Andrew Tate converted to Islam, but they nabbed him.
Yeah, what's the deal with that? They said that he was. They charged him with human trafficking, and people who know him personally said that that's not true.
Nah, man.
It was funny. He actually predicted that he was going to get arrested.
Oh no, yeah, because he's thinking he had like 3 strikes. First strike, they're going to shut you down.
Yeah,
they took him off social media.
Yeah.
Second one, they tried to arrest him.
Right.
But no, it was.
Apparently, the 3rd strike is death or whatever.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. You know what? The funny thing is, sometimes in like certain people that get. That kind of status,
right?
I mean, he's a well-known person, 4-time kickboxing champion, has his own platform, this and that, very, I'm not going to say he's very spontaneous kind of guy. Right. Let's say that. I'm not going to say controversial because some of his values and ideas, I can look at him, I can relate to them, right? And some people kind of look up to him, some people disagree with him. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Right. I think that's the simple, easiest answer to give people. Yeah. But no, he does like to poke the bear a little bit because he was like tweeting out to Greta Thunberg or something, environmentalist.
Why does she look so familiar? Is she like an actress? Like I don't know. She looks like a Game of Thrones character. Right? Like I don't like. I seen her face. I'm like, yo, where have I seen you before?
Yeah, she's like the face of these environmentalists. Like there's like. Her level of a kind of like, I guess getting her point across is very, in my opinion, is a little extreme.
Her level,
yeah. Okay. So just certain things people say, certain people how you act. She's a young person, right. So I mean, from what I do understand is, she preaches that we have the lower carbon footprint, this and that, and completely understandable stuff. I think certain means of how people go about things nowadays is that. Right. They're very aggressive, Maybe sometimes a soft-spoken person might be the best candidate. Right. She's quite young, so I think she's maybe like in her teens. I want to say in teens.
Actually, you know what? I just remembered. I remember now who I'm mixing her up with. There's a Palestinian girl, that was fighting against, the Zionist government there, and she looks just like her.
Oh, really?
Right?
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Sorry, I was kind of remember. I'm like, yo, where did I her face shape and her hair. I was like, yo, where do I know this face from?
Yeah, so there you
go. A Palestinian girl, is it? Okay. So what's her beef with Andrew Tate? Like who?
So Andrew Tate, I guess, tweeted out to her like, "Hey, I have 33 cars, this and that. I'll send you a list of all the other stuff I have." Blah blah blah.
And in regards to what, the environment being?
The environment thing, because she was calling people out and stuff, saying, "Oh, you know, this and that, cars are driving, blah blah blah." And so Andrew Tate tweeted a picture out to her, a video out, you know, and in that video they had a picture of a pizza box.
Okay.
And that pizza box, the only place you can get that pizza is in Romania. So I guess the Romanian government knew that, hey, you know what? Andrew Tate and his brother are in the same location at the same time.
Right.
Let's nab them.
Something's odd about that, because why would it take a pizza box for the government to know that two people they're quote unquote looking for are in our home? Mm-hmm. Something sounds shaky about that.
Yeah, but you know what the thing with Andrew Tate and like say his brother Tristan, right? They travel around the world, right? They have their own private jet. So sometimes, yeah, it doesn't make sense that, you know, someone may not be in the location that they are. But the thing is, like, the way they went about it, it was insane. Like, man, they had anti-terrorist a squad go out and arrest these guys. Like, I'm talking about 15, 20 people going up, you know, to arrest this guy. I mean, I get it, you know, he always does carry a weapon on him, you know.
Right.
But, like, to go to that point to arrest someone like that,
right, and
it's a little shaky to me.
And his crime is what? That he was trafficking, like
okay. So what they're saying is like, oh, you know what? Two people that he had on his he had a online webcam service or something.
Right.
He's saying, oh, these people were forced to do it, this and that. But when you ask people, or you talk to people that have been in that situation or have worked for Andrew Tate,
right,
they're millionaires. Andrew Tate's the only person that I know that he gives his people like 50-50. Like, what other company do you know that you work for that says, hey, you know, say, for example, like say, like any sort of partnership, you get 50-50 down the middle. That's an amazing deal.
Right.
One person takes all the risks and, you know, the liabilities and responsibilities, and you get paid for it.
Right.
So I think not a lot of these people do that stuff on their own, you know, choice. Like, look at today's day and age. Everyone has OnlyFans. No one say anything about that.
Right.
This is the same kind of concept. Someone just capitalized on it.
Right.
So
so you think they're just nabbing him now for that, even though like you just illustrated there that it seems to be like people are just doing it on their own merit, like their own choice. It's not like he's forcing them to do things.
Yeah, no, like it's funny because like nobody has come forward saying, "Hey, this person's forcing me." There was a funny article actually we were talking about Andrew Tate was. Everybody was posting this picture of this ringside girl. So I think Andrew Tate was at a boxing match. And this ringside girl allegedly is like, oh, you know, Andrew Tate asked me to come to Romania. I'm so happy, you know, that you know, I didn't get trafficked, this and that. And everyone's posting about it. And his buddy actually posts a video about it saying, look at this. Like, this never happened because this ring girl actually walks up to Andrew Tate and says, hey, what are you doing later today? And he's like, I'm watching a boxing match. And he kind of ignores her. So, like,
oh, okay.
Everybody wants to paint someone as a villain because guess what? People who are villains sell news.
Right.
People want to be like, oh, you're a bad guy to make themselves feel good. Like, even, I mean, with Andrew Tate, you know, it's a little controversial. When you first came out, you said a couple controversial things. Like, you know, I do like, you know, I like Andrew Tate, but like some stuff he says is like, I'm like, hey, that's a little extreme. But in like now, like as I guess he's matured or he's, you know, kind of starting to figure out where he stands in life. I think he's grown as a person, right? And he's kind of taken back a couple of his values that he had said before.
Right.
But you look at some people like have interacted with like Andrew Tate and you're like, hey, look at that guy. Can't remember his thing. He was like, oh, you know, if you're really Muslim, go blow yourself up.
Right. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
You know, like we gotta paint this guy. I mean, mind you, guy got canceled right away.
Right.
But you know, and I feel like a lot of this like toxic energy sells. Like even you look at even like today now, like what we're doing podcasts. You look at that thing with like Logan Paul and True Jordy. I think is the guy.
Yeah.
He's talking about, you know, how like he appreciates God and he has, you know, that's his thing. You know, like he like, you know, like when everyone else was kind of like shunned their backs on him, you know, God was with him, you know, and he clowned him for that.
Yeah, well, yeah, because to my knowledge, Logan Paul is like a atheist or whatever. But yeah, obviously he takes it to like another level by clowning people that don't really,
yeah,
that don't adhere to what he adheres
saying
to.
you need.
Because somebody, there's a guy, I don't know if he's Armenian or something. Somebody on his team is like a practicing Christian or whatever.
Yeah, that's True Jordy.
Oh yeah, sorry, my bad, yeah, sorry. And he said something about like he's like, yo, you're like one of my best friends, but you're the only person that continuously mocks me
for my faith and my religion,
for being religious or whatever.
Yeah, because he was saying something like, oh, you need to see a psychiatrist because Jesus ain't doing something for you. Right. And everyone has their personal beliefs. Like how could you go down that route and mock someone because of their faith they hold? Even his other guy, Mike, I think his name is. I saw something this morning. He like literally walked off because he was kind of making him feel like less of a person.
Like, well, like in what way? Like,
so he was
him or something?
Yeah. So what he was saying was like, oh, you know what? He's like, oh, look how Mike's not talking. You know, like do I say, you know, like he's all quiet now. He's like, yeah, because every time I talk, you know, I try to be relatable to people, this and that. You just kind of shut me off, say, oh, speed it up, hurry it up. He's like, I'm here because I want to, you know, connect with people.
Right.
He's like, you're a good guy, but this and that. But you're going down this rabbit hole that you're messing everyone up.
Right.
You know, and he's like, oh, but my podcast name is Impulsive, this and that. But like, I get it, but you don't want to ruin people who are standing by, you know, your close friends, this and that. Like, and just paint yourself as, you know, this jerk.
Right. So you're 100% right. So is there an attack on people that are, you know, that believe in something, like believe in a higher power? You think that, like, because it seems to be now, like even now in life, the more people that, you know, that I share my faith with or whatever, and, you know, I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm fasting and stuff like that. They look at me like I'm crazy. And it's not being like, not like, you know, I'm crazy, just like, yo, you actually practice something. Yeah. Like nobody does, right? So it seems like people that actually do adhere to, you know, their own respective faiths, they're looked at as outcasts right now.
Yeah, because
always, but now it's
more evident. You know, I think the biggest thing is that when it comes down to that, right, is like you look at how religion was, I mean, I don't know, 40, 50 years because I wasn't alive, but, you know, like how my parents talk about it, you know, like, you know, they grew up in a day and age, you know, like these are the set rules, you follow this and that. But now what people are doing is they're mixing their own personal values with religion. So now this is like this hybrid cultural religion where it's like they change their religion to match their ideologies and their mindset. Right. So then when that happens is like, oh, you know what? Say, for example, in the Islamic belief is like, you don't drink. Oh, you know, but I'm going to drink every day, but except Friday, because Friday is, you know, a holy day. Okay. So they're trying to like find loopholes and like, oh, but you know, I'm trying to be a good person. Like I'm never going to decredit someone for trying their best, but you have to think about how when people do stuff like that, it makes that religion look less respectable, you know?
Right.
Like if you, like for example, like say I'm saying, oh, you know what, I'm a Muslim, right? So if I say, hey, you know what, Islam is, you know, the right path, this and that, blah, blah. But then you see me out clubbing, drinking, you know, partying, doing everything I'm not supposed to be doing, but I'm preaching it. So that's why it becomes so evident. Like for example, like, and it's a true story. We had an office party and you were there, and you and I don't drink. So someone's like, oh, you know, here, have a drink. And I'm like, no, sorry, I don't drink. Oh, but I know Afghans that drink.
Oh,
and it's but I'm not one of those type of Afghans. I'm like, my nationality is different than my religion.
Right, I see.
So and people often mix those two up, right? Like, oh, but I've seen other Afghans drink and they're Muslims.
Right.
Oh, I've seen other Somalis drink, but they're Muslims. So what makes you different?
Yeah. I'll admit too that I've gotten that a lot in my life. It's like they know, they'll meet me, they'll learn about my culture and my background, and then they'll talk about their boys from their hoods, be like, yo, you're nothing like these guys. These guys are doing this and this and this. And I'm like, yo, that's on them. Like, exactly. There's nothing to do with me. It doesn't represent, you know, where like, you know, my country or whatever like that, right? I don't want to do these, you know, I don't want to do certain things.
Yes.
So it's like, and now when you're an adult, you're just seeing things, or you're like, oh, okay, like, you know. So like, and I think going back to what we're talking about with Andrew Tate, like I think that there's like systems designed to shut people down that 100% that go against family building and stuff like that, and believing in God, and you know, taking care of your body and stuff like that, right? It's like you want to keep people depressed, lonely, sad, so they consume more, they buy more.
Yeah, mind you that the whole war tactic is divide and conquer. When you have a nation that's divided,
right,
and they don't know, they're kind of lost. They're easy to pick. Right. Like think of like a herd of sheep. When one sheep goes away, the wolf kidnaps it. Right. It's the same way with say that our like in the culture we live now. Right. It's like when as soon as you all of a sudden you're starting to get. I mean, and media plays a big role. I mean, the government plays a big role. Like their bank system.
Right.
Penny, nickel, dimes us to death. Their food poisons us. Their media brainwashes us. The schools corrupt us, or the youth.
Right. Yeah.
So all of a sudden you have all these divisions, and people are financially struggling, religiously struggling, intellectually struggling. When people are down and they're stressed about that, they're not thinking about, hey, you know what? Why did my government put a new tax in place that's charging us this and that? Or why is my gas prices going up? Think about it like this. People will do things, or higher powers will do things to distract you from what's actually happening. Okay. Look at the whole Andrew Tate thing. Thing goes down, it's all over the news.
Right.
Epstein's list doesn't get published.
Yeah. Why? What is, now that I learned about that whole situation, why is nobody talking about that? Because they're worried about human trafficking with this guy.
But nobody's talking about the pedophiles on the island.
Yeah. What the heck is that about?
And if you don't see me on the next podcast, it's because they got me.
But what's the deal with that? Is it like, I don't know, like it's tough to digest.
I'll tell you exactly what it is. There's names on that list that if it came through, nations would fall. Like I'm talking about kings, queens, presidents, leaders. Okay, you want to hear something really crazy? Well, let's talk about pedophiles.
Sure.
Do you know why How to Catch a Predator stopped?
I don't know why the TV show stopped. I kind of think I know where you're going with this, but go ahead.
So what happened was that this is roughly the last one they aired, was they had a guy that they're following. They have like these officers pretend to be 13-year-old kids, this and that, and that's how they catch predators. So one of the guys was a senator. A U.S. senator.
Okay.
So what happened was they caught him, this and that, and blah, blah. And you know what the guy did? I don't know if we can say this. I don't want to get demonetized or anything, but he unalived himself.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, and they caught it all on camera.
No way.
Everything on camera. And I think it got leaked. So it set that show back. But then if you think about it, that show, you wouldn't be able to do it now in today's day and age. Because
why? Do you think they've made pedophilia like more liberal? Like it's like not like, because I do read now, I do see things on the internet now about some groups are advocating, some far left liberal groups are advocating that you don't call people pedophiles anymore.
You call them minor attracted people.
They're just people that are attracted to minors, and that could be that's kind of scary.
That is very scary.
That's kind of scary.
It's very scary.
Like where and I could have sworn a lot of people maybe a couple of years ago kind of predicted this was gonna kind of happen. It was gonna get down to this type of thing. So maybe the whole Epstein thing is part of that, right?
Yeah,
it's like,
I feel like we as a society start to degenerate when we start to normalize things like that. Like there's some things like I get it. We live in a new day and age. We've seen Canada grow, and like as a nation. But when you see things like that, it sets us back. And I truly believe that we should always have certain core values, just like in the Christian faith. They have the 10 Commandments, and those are book-bound rules. Yeah. You can't change those.
Right.
I think we as a nation or as a population should have bound rules. And I understand, like, people have sicknesses. I get it.
Right.
But we cannot normalize it to a point where it's like, oh, well, what are we going to do? Slap on the wrist.
Is it easier to normalize rather than, find cures and stuff?
Yeah, 100%. Right. Because, like, we live in a day and age now that anyone can identify as anything. Right. So because think about it. Like, so if I can identify as, a
glass of water,
why can't you identify as a minor attracted person?
Right.
Right. So what happens is the line is so blurred, nobody knows where it is anymore. So what's accepted and what's not supposed to be accepted. Like I said, when it comes back down to it, I think we don't have any core values.
Right. And you're talking about, you mentioned religion, just a few seconds ago, but that's the thing about Canada and America is they're separated from,
church and state.
Right. So they've built these lands to not be operated in, a faith-based way, but there's a church on every corner. Right? There's a church, there's mosques everywhere. It's
but
despite that, people are still gonna,
but even when you look at these religious institutions, I'm sorry to say this, and I hope I don't offend anyone. They're money monglers. Like you look at some of these like mega churches. The guys are telling, hey, sell your coat, sell your pants, give it to the church kind of thing.
Right.
And these poor people have nothing to eat, but they're flying around in a private jet all day, buying expensive, properties and, cars, vehicles. I mean, it's not just the churches. I see it in the mosques and this and that,
I have never seen a rich imam before.
I have.
And if they are wealthy, they're like low key.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry, I was gonna say, but maybe these pastor guys, maybe it's things that they're entitled to. Like I don't know the doctrine, but maybe like a person who spreads their faith or whatever can be.
Yeah, I mean, definitely
can be somebody that's rich and drive around in fancy cars and fly around and stuff because they're doing quote unquote God's work. Right.
Yeah,
so
but then I 100% agree with you there. Yeah, I guess whatever money you make on
maybe it's for like that, right? Like I don't know the ins and outs, right? But I'm assuming
that could be one of
like pastors and stuff. They're probably super wealthy because they do God's work.
Yeah, but I think the problem goes on like, okay, I guess you're doing God's work. We're amazing. You're spreading the word of God. Great. But what happens when someone is struggling and doesn't have anything to eat? Like how do you tell someone, hey, put your last dollars into the charity basket,
right?
When you're living this lavish lifestyle, like it's very, like, in my opinion, like say for example, Abdi, you're telling me, hey, don't worry about food, this and that, but you have a 5-meal course in front of you. I'm gonna look at you and be like, okay, well, you don't know what it feels like to not eat for 4 or 5 days,
right?
Because you have all this abundant food in front of you. So how are you gonna tell me, oh, struggle? It gets you closer to God, but here you are living, the luxuries of this world. And it goes, and I talk about this Imam. I don't know, and I can't remember the source of the video or where the nationality. I think they were Pakistani. So the guy lives in this massive mansion, this and that, like invites all these people over, always feeds.
Here in Canada or like?
No, in Pakistan.
Okay.
And like, buddies are eating, and there's people dying outside around the neighborhood because of starvation.
Right.
So we kind of have to understand, like, because I mean, there's that saying, with absolute power comes corruption, right? Because we as human beings, we can't, we don't know how to handle power,
right?
So I think there's a lot that goes into it. But yeah, the whole situation with how they were normalized, even one thing, pedophilia is fine. It's not fine. Sorry. Not fine. It's one topic to talk about,
right.
But look at our school systems now. Like there's pornographic books out there, this and that, in the classrooms of elementary schools.
Yeah, it's growing. Yeah,
like who? Why are we not talking about this? Why are we normalizing? Like there was a book about how to perform homosexual love
for kids.
Wow. And you got to think in your head, like, somebody put that on the shelf. A teacher put that on the shelf. Someone thought, hey, this is okay.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
There was so I actually saw this thing in the morning on TikTok, and this mother put a Facebook post online saying that their school is doing this thing called like pansexuality or something, and she's like, hey, I don't like the fact that my child is being sexualized. She made a Facebook post.
Right.
Facebook post. You know who responded to that Facebook post?
Who?
The U.S. military.
Responded
to it.
Saying what?
Saying that this is outlandish, this and that, like this needs to be taken down, blah, 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 blah. The head department of that police also responded to this and that over a Facebook post. I'm not saying that, Canada's better than the States, but like when we're getting the military involved in this and that, and the head of the police department involved in a Facebook post that has your opinion on something,
right?
Our what's important to us as a nation is gone.
Right.
Like if you think a Facebook post merits the U.S. government to respond to that,
right,
is outlandish.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember the thing is, I grew up without social media, so like I'm totally.
I was part of that era too.
Yeah, I could go back into a world where there is no social media, right? Because I spent a good part of my life not having social media. So I remember the big problems growing up was sex education. Like there'd be some parents protesting and stuff like that, but it wasn't any like obviously speaking like nobody was trying to sexualize us as kids. They're just trying to tell us, yo, you guys are growing. Yeah, your emotions and things are gonna change. It was kind of, I get it now. I'm like, I get why they told us these things. And I remember some people having parents like, I don't want my kids being. Now it's like a different ball game.
Oh no,
like,
because I'll tell you, in my opinion, this is strictly my opinion and nothing more than that. And maybe some people will agree with me, some people won't. So, but this is my opinion. If you're listening to this podcast, you think we're saying the right things, amazing. If we think we're saying the wrong things, amazing. This is our opinions. This is how you and I grew up. This is our life experiences.
Right.
This is all we're talking about. Yeah. But in my life experience, I think sex education is very important. I think every child should be taught that.
Right.
But there's a difference between sex education and sexual education.
Right.
Or sexuality. Sorry, I should say.
Okay.
Because sex education, hey, this is your anatomy. Of course, someone has to know that. Hey, you need to clean yourself down there. Hey, you need to do this.
Right.
If you're not circumcised, you got to do this and that. Amazing. Hey, if you have sex, these are the pros and these are the cons. Hey, these are the risks you're taking. Right. Hey, you can get STDs, you can get pregnant, you can have, X, Y, and Z, or whatever.
Right.
But now you're teaching kids about sexuality. Hey, it's okay to like boys and girls, or it's okay to be, homosexual. It's okay to be heterosexual. I don't think it's the school's right to teach that to a child.
So you think that honestly, to me, like something like that is a very big decision in life. Like I don't think it's something to just be like, okay, I'm going to do this right away. I think it's a lot of things. Like it's the same thing as like. Well, at least the way I view it is like teaching kids about alcohol and stuff. Like, no one's gonna give a kid a shot of liquor.
Like, hey, do you like this?
Yeah. It's like, hey, it's okay to drink. They're gonna be like, no, it's not good for you. It's not good for your body. It's not.
No, 100%.
And then when you're an adult, then you can come to the conclusion that you
make those own choices.
Yeah, to make these type of decisions, right? But I do understand why a lot of people are very frustrated at. Like you said, teaching them sexuality at such a young age.
Yeah,
like, this and this.
Because think about it, Abdi. A child is like a sponge. They're very impressionable. Right. Like when you tell a kid, hey, it's okay to do this and that, blah, blah, you also at the same time are minimizing their curiosity of things, right?
Right.
Growing up, every child is going to be curious about something. They're going to be like, hey, I wonder what it's like to be with this and that, or what it's like to be this. That's a curiosity, and that's something normal. That's something normal for a child to grow up and kind of think, like, hey, I wonder where I stand in the world. But I'm a parent. So me as a parent, I think I have the liberties and the rights to raise my child how I see fit. When my child comes to the age of like, when he can think properly and he can kind of have like his own solid, like something I'm saying, like, like let's say 16, because that's when you can get your driver's license, right? Or 15 or whatever. I think if my child comes up and says, hey, this is how I feel, this is my thing, I'll be like, okay, you came to that conclusion. A school didn't teach you that. I didn't teach you that. What I'm going to teach my kid is my core values, because I think, hey, I raised you in this world. Right. I provided for you and this and that. This is the customs that I grew up with. This is the lifestyle. When you grow up and you say, hey, I absolutely hate this. This is abomination. Like, I don't want to follow you anymore, Dad. Cool. Fine.
Okay, do we look like
anti-Canadians?
Like we're against the Canadian culture if we don't want our kids to learn these things?
Well,
does it make us, like,
So we as Canadians, what we pride ourselves on is one, the freedom of being who you are. Okay. Right? So if someone can identify as whatever they want to identify, which is, power to you. If you want to identify, say, trans or homosexual or whatever, or any sort of that kind of loop style, should I not be able to identify as myself? Like, can I not identify as old cultural person, like without being judged or being looked upon down? Can I not say, hey, I I'm an old school guy, so that's how I identify as an old school person, an old soul.
Right.
Or I identify as my so we as Canadians, we always say we're in a melting pot. We have so many various races, this and that, cultures and religions. Right. But why is it that my culture is now viewed down upon because it doesn't follow the norm? Because for what normal is for you is not normal for me.
Right.
I grew up in a cult. Like I grew up in a household that this is we follow Islamic rules, this and that, so and so and so.
Right.
So how are you going to tell me that my culture believes now is wrong because it doesn't fit your narrative?
Right. I think it's I think it's also not just the differences between the different cultures. I also think that it's just there's no education being taught, right? Because yes, there may be a lot of people that feel like that if you don't accept people's lifestyles, right, that you are as Ahmed pours water into the cup here.
I'm not going to make the sound, guys. I've learned my lesson.
Right. That as if you don't accept people's lifestyle, you're a hateful person. And I think that's where like the lines have been blurred because usually now people are getting flack for like you said, not embracing, the lifestyles people think. And it's okay to disagree with someone's lifestyle.
100%.
Right? It doesn't have to be someone's sexual lifestyle. There's a lot of different lifestyles you can live and be like, yo, that's incorrect. The way of,
So why can't we come to a conclusion where it's like, I don't have to accept your choices that you made, your religious choices, your sexual choices, or your political choices.
Right. But
I'll tolerate them. We'll live in the same space.
Right.
Like I have no problems with people. If you think that's your form of love, anything.
Right.
Love can be with any sort of gender. That's fine.
Right.
You do you, but do not expect me to devalue my beliefs to make you happy. Right. Like if you tell me, hey, what is a marriage, or what is what do I think a healthy family is? I'll tell you what I think a healthy family is.
Right. Okay.
And if you disagree with me, you disagree with me. Kudos to you. But I don't think someone should force me to change my beliefs to fit their narrative. I think that's absolutely preposterous. Or I tried to use a big word and I failed it. So,
what was the word you tried to use? You said prosperous, or
no?
Like what?
Man, I was on a roll and I ruined it.
It's okay. I'm trying to think of the word you're trying to think of.
No, as when something is like outrageous,
like asinine?
Not acidine. More like it's. Man, as soon as the podcast ends, it's gonna come to my head.
Don't worry, it's all good. But I get what you're saying. But the thing is, you have a child, so would you protest what your child learns, right? Your child's in senior kindergarten?
No, he's going to school next March. So next year, sorry.
Next March. To my knowledge, they already teach kids about September. These things as early as senior kindergarten. So do Canadian parents, what can they do to kind of
counter that?
Yeah. Unless they're fortunate enough to homeschool kids, because exposing kids too early to these type of things is, I can't imagine it's healthy.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But I think, should we keep going?